Well, as South Africans reflect on Reconciliation Day, some are asking the question, are we reconciling? The National Heritage Council wants to know if the country is making progress in forging reconciliation. The council says public racial outbursts and hate speech are signs of deep rifts. But it's up to South Africans to find space for healing. Joining us now is the National Heritage Council CEO, Advocate Sonwabile Mankochwa. Sonwabile, good morning. Thanks for your time. So the President's saying that we cannot exist without human rights. Also the call for widespread condemnation of racism and sexism. And it seems that if we look at events over the past year or so, even going back when we talk about the penny sparrows of our world, that it looks on the surface of it that we're not doing a very great job. But from what you can see when it comes to reconciling, how are South Africans faring?
I think we are talking about more than 200 years, of deep divisions in our country. But of course, if you talk about reconciliation itself, our country, the Republic, was founded on reconciliation. So reconciliation is a very important foundational value of our Republic. But as to whether we are reconciling or not, I mean, Nelson Mandela himself once said there are always the good and the bad people. It doesn't mean that when there are bad people, all of a sudden, all of us are bad. But society itself, I think, has moved. But we've got to ask fundamental questions. There are historic fault lines, which is both class, gender, and race. Yeah. And then whether we're moving on this. Another area, whether we're able to measure this reconciliation, national project. And as the Heritage Council, we're raising that periodically we must actually be able to measure it so that we can be able to have a proper, a prognosis, so that we will have, diagnosis that is relevant.
So are you saying when it comes to reconciliation and South Africans, it's not just a matter of black and white anymore, there are grey areas as well?
Yes. Remember our colonialism had left our country more fractured. When Nelson Mandela said never, never again, it was not only but just about black and whites. Remember the national question comes when the oppressed had realized that they were quite very fractured. There were wars actually that people were killed, yeah. and different historic wars, the frontier wars, and then so forth, and then up to in the early 90s, when Nelson Mandela said let's throw the weapons to the sea, and therefore saying that this all show that we're not just reconciling black and white. The issue of reconciliation even among black people. Remember, the ANC itself was formed, precisely because of, this demon against ethnicity. But going back to measurement, I was able to measure this, important project. There was a research that was done by the presidents, I think it was 2005, where South Africans were, asked certain questions. Different age groups related differently, yeah. Those below 20 years, which is the younger generation, much, it responded to the question differently. Are you South African or not? But the certain categories, like for instance, between 20 and 40, that's where people see themselves along professional lines. I'm a pilot, I'm a lawyer, and so forth. But above maybe 50, that's where the issue of ethnic identities come.
Because they grew up in those days, if we were to speak.
Yeah, that's why in the Heritage Council was saying that we're actually preparing for this. Every 5 years, it's important for us to have a measurement of this. Another area is public holiday. Or can I say, how do you use this? National days.
Yes.
There's a holiday. Euphoria, about, and,
we don't know why we're on holiday, but we just know it's a holiday.
Maybe we must think better of it. How do we, celebrate or, use these days in a much more meaningful way?
So you say we need to re-examine the reconciliation agenda in South Africa. So moving forward, what do we need to do?
I think what we need to do...
For example, you mentioned the holidays and questioning why, but what else?
Yes. I think you cannot divorce the issue of reconciliation, with exactly the whole socio-economic, issues of Africa. Hence, we're raising the issue of the class question and so forth. But beyond that, we've got to look at what are those things that actually unify us as a society. For instance, the heritage sites in Africa. You know, if you talk about our fossils, talk about natural heritage, the cradle of humankind, you know, Mapungubo and so forth. You know, then of course we have got liberation heritage. If you look at liberation heritage, there are things that say, some people say, once you invoke it, you know, it doesn't talk to me, you know. But there are, you know, certain heritage, you know, areas like our history, our heritage sites, you know, our monuments, you know, that actually talk to us, black and white.
So we need to start encouraging people.
Let's encourage people to go out there, you know, and so forth, so that, you know, more than those areas that actually divide us, you know, it's just, without saying those are not important, you know, and hence I like the whole issue, is, you know, of embracing the question of history becoming, you know, compulsory, and that it's important as society, you know, to visit heritage sites.
And the correct history, though. The correct version of history.
Yes, of course. You know, yes.
All right, well, thanks very much for that. And now you know why you've got the day off today. If you are off, explaining it to us, National Heritage Council CEO Advocate Sonobile Mankotwa.